Hi there. So we are taking a look at global questions, which, as you have just read in the RC Grail, are questions that cannot be answered by reading from the passage. The answer to a global question is not given to you in the passage, which is why it's a waste of time going back to the passage and trying to find the answer in the passage. It is not there. A few things to keep in mind when you're approaching global questions. The first thing I just told you, the answer is not given in the passage. The second is how will the questions be worded? These are typically your primary concern or main purpose questions. What is the primary concern of the author in the passage? What is the main purpose of the author in writing the passage? And the interesting thing is the options or the answer choices that you see for global questions will typically start with verbs. What I mean is, first option might say to explain something. Second might say to criticize something. Third might say to praise something. So you see, if you have made a prediction after reading the passage that it's a positive passage, then any option that starts with a negative word such as criticize or ridicule or even a neutral word such as describe can immediately be eliminated because the correct answer would start with some kind of a positive word. So looking at the verbs at the beginning of each option in a global question can actually help you a lot of the times narrow down to two choices. So try to do that. Obviously, you should have an answer in mind before you look at the options, otherwise, you would get confused. In fact, you should have an answer in mind before you even look at the question. You should always have the answer to what is the purpose of the passage in your mind after you have read the passage. Sometimes what happens is students read the word purpose mentioned in the question and they assume that the question is asking for the main purpose of the passage. However, sometimes what the test makers will do, they will ask you for the primary purpose of second paragraph or the third paragraph. So then the answer has to be only for the second paragraph. And what makes it even more confusing is one of the options given to you will contain the purpose of the entire passage, just to confuse you. So make sure that you read the question very carefully. Also, once you have say narrowed down your choices to two options, read them completely to see which one conveys the meaning correctly. Because a lot of the times a particular option can be absolutely correct till say the midpoint, and after that it becomes totally wrong. So read the entire option before you select it. Sometimes what you will see on a global question is that some of the options will contain details that are clearly mentioned in the passage. And students tend to think that looks very good because that is given to us in the passage, that must be the answer. However, think about it, the author did not write the entire passage to give you that one little piece of detail. He must have had a broader agenda. So if you see options on a global question that contain details from the passage, you can be rest assured that will not be the answer. You can eliminate those immediately. Let's say you've done all of this and you're still confused between two options. You're not sure which one to go with. Then you select the option that takes into account what we call the last part or the latter part of the passage, roughly the last one fourth of the passage. And the reason we are saying that is because a lot of the times we have seen that the GMAT passages they will go in one direction and then suddenly at the end they will totally reverse direction. For example, let's say a passage says it starts by saying that this new movie has been released, which has made like $2 billion on the opening weekend. The second paragraph says critics have also loved the movie a lot. The third paragraph says even the general public has loved the movie and it is highly likely that both the actors will get Oscar awards. So by the time you read the third paragraph, you tend to think that the entire passage is praising that movie. It's a positive passage. And then you come to the last paragraph where the author says, however, I personally hated the movie for these reasons. So you see, suddenly in the end, the passage has reversed its direction. It's actually become a negative passage, a critical passage. So that's what I mean when I say pay attention to the last part of the passage if you're stuck between two options. So now you can go back to the book and continue reading through to detailed questions.